Hello and welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonker, and in today's discussion, we are going to talk about India's nuclear energy. In fact, we are going to raise a question. The question is, should India consider phasing out its nuclear power? That means this discussion is going to be a comprehensive analysis of India's nuclear energy or nuclear sector. We are going to understand how much is the capacity of nuclear power in India. In what stage are we in our nuclear program? We know that we have a three-stage nuclear program which has already been envisaged in 1960s by Homi Jahangir Baba. Where have we reached? What are the advantages of nuclear power? What are the disadvantages of nuclear power? And then we'll try to answer, should we phase out nuclear power or not? So all these things would be discussed in this particular video. Now you must be thinking, so why are we discussing this at all? Why this question has been raised? Because recently Germany, the European giant, has decided to shut down its last three nuclear power stations, and that is why we are raising this question. Since Germany is trying to phase out its nuclear power, should India also phase out its nuclear power? Let's analyze this particular thing. All right, let's begin our discussion. But before that, there is a small notice for all of you. If you are a UPSC civil services aspirant, if you're preparing for civil services examination, then you have another opportunity to join our prelims 2 interview batch. The batch 3 has already been closed out. It closed out on 26th of April. I had been repeatedly telling you to enroll, but you have another opportunity to join batch 4. This is going to be an evening batch which is going to begin from 5th May 2023. And as I told you, this is a unique program where StudyIQ will be hand-holding you right from day one, from your prelims preparation to mains preparation to your interview guidance program. You will be attending mock interviews, you will be attending the mains residential program. If you clear the prelims, for 2024, the entire expenses for mains residential program would be borne out by StudyIQ. And this entire program is placed at or priced at this particular price, 29999. Remember, if you want this price, discounted price, you need to use my code Rahul Live. You can just go to our website studyiq.com, or you can download our app from Google Play Store, where you'll get all the information. So I'll see you in the class. All right. Let's begin our discussion with the observation that what is India's nuclear status. I'm not talking about nuclear weapons here, right? We are talking about nuclear energy, nuclear power in India. Of course, we know India is also a nuclear weapons state, because in 1998 in Pokhran, India tested nuclear weapons and we became a nuclear power. But we are not discussing that. We are discussing about our nuclear energy, right? Nuclear power plants. How much capacity do we have? As of today, India has a capacity of 6,780 megawatt. That means 6.7, or I can say 6.8 gigawatt approximately. All right. And we have different stations at different locations. We have in Kaiga, there is a Kaiga atomic power plant in Karnataka. There is one in Kalpakam, there is in Kudankulam, there is in Tarapur, Kakrapara, Rajasthan, Narora. There are many nuclear power plants in India. But do remember that our capacity is still very low. Till 2021, and the number is same even today. Out of the entire energy basket, only 3.1% of our energy comes from nuclear power plants. That means if there are 100 units of energy being used in India, only 3.1% of energy is coming from nuclear power plants. And these nuclear power plants are spread across 7 locations. We have 22 nuclear reactors at 7 locations. As I told you, what are the locations which are live as of today? There is one in Kudankulam, there is one in Kalpakam, there is one in Kaiga in Karnataka, there is Tarapur, Kakrapara, there is Rajasthan, and then one near Narora. These are the 7 nuclear power plants where we have 22 nuclear reactors which are already in operation in India, which have a capacity of 6,780 megawatt. But India is also planning to build many other nuclear power plants. That means in the upcoming years, the question has already been answered. Should we be phasing out nuclear power? We will not be phasing out in near future, because we are actually working towards more and more power plants. There are already power plants which are going to go live, scheduled at Kalpakam, another one. There is one at Jaitapur, right? There is one at Mithivardi, there is one at Kovada, Chutka, Bhimpur, Gorakhpur. There are so many nuclear power plants coming up. In fact, if you look at the numbers, you'll see that 10 nuclear reactors with a capacity of about 8,000 megawatt capacity are under construction. Apart from that, India has also ordered 10 nuclear power plants. That means pressurized heavy water reactors, each each comprising of 700 megawatt. That means in future, we are looking at more and more nuclear reactors coming up in India, more and more nuclear power plants or power sites coming up in India. That's the status as of now. But the question remains, sir, we have a program, right? I've heard about our nuclear program, a 3-stage nuclear program created by Homi Jahangir Baba in 1960s. So where are we in that particular plan? What is the progress that has been made? First of all, let's try to understand what are these 3 stages. The first stage, it comprises of creating nuclear reactors which are pressurized heavy water reactors. And in the next stage, this is a stage 1 where natural uranium would be used as a fuel. The next stage is to develop special fast breeder reactor, which would be plutonium fueled fast breeder reactor. That means it is going to take input, but it is also going to produce more and more fissile material. You can see here, we can get plutonium, more and more plutonium, which can be used. So fast breeder reactors is the second stage of our development. The third stage is the thorium based nuclear reactors. And the question is, sir, where are we right now? See, we have already achieved stage 1. That means whatever sites that we find, most of these sites, they use pressurized heavy water reactor. And I told you that each reactor having a capacity of 700 megawatt is being developed. That is again pressurized heavy water reactor itself. So stage 1 has already been achieved. So what about stage 2? Stage 2 is in development phase. A prototype of this fast breeder reactor is being developed by Bhavini. For stage 3, we haven't even reached, and we asked the government that when are we going to complete this nuclear program of ours. In the coming 3 to 4 decades, probably we will be reaching this particular stage. But as of now, I want you to understand we are still in stage 1. Stage 2, only prototype is being developed as of now in India. That means commercialization of these reactors has not yet happened. That's the status. I hope it's clear now that how many reactors we have, what is our capacity, where do we stand in terms of our nuclear program. Now let's analyze, is nuclear power good or bad? Is nuclear power useful for India? Does it make sense for India? Let's first talk about yes. We can say that it does make a lot of sense for us. First of all, according to our program, we are looking at building thorium-based reactors in the stage 3. Why? Because we have plenty of thorium reserves in coastal India, especially towards the eastern side. The eastern coast has monazite sand. That sand has a lot of thorium reserves. Apart from that, we do know that India has a lot of energy insecurity. India is actually, I would say, energy poor country. Per capita electricity or per capita energy consumption is still low compared to many developed countries. If we talk about the current season itself, in the current season, in summer, we have seen the peak demand for electricity reaching more and more every year. This is going to increase further because we are building industries, we are economically developing, we are the emerging economy, so we do need energy. Apart from that, there is a lot of energy efficiency in terms of fuel. Say, let me just give you an example. Take 1 kg of coal and produce some energy. 1 kg of coal approximately produce, I think, 12 kilowatt hours of energy. Do you know how much 1 kg of uranium produces? Right? There is not even a number. I can say 24 million kilowatt hours of energy is produced by 1 kg of uranium. So it is highly energy efficient. Of course, a very good pointer here in terms of energy efficiency per kg of fuel. Apart from that, nuclear energy is actually firm energy. Firm energy means it does not fluctuate. Now, when we compare nuclear energy with other renewable sources of our energy, say, for example, solar energy or wind energy, can I say that for almost a month in the rainy season, I do not see sun? So what is the status of solar energy? Is it fluctuating? Of course, yes. What if there is no wind for 15 days? It happens many a times in the year. So what is the status of wind energy? It is not firm energy, it fluctuates. And that is why it is very, very tough for us to join it into the grid. But nuclear energy has no such problems. It's firm energy. It's stable energy. Apart from that, as I told you, we are emerging economy. We need our economic growth. We need economic development. And for that, energy is a prime requirement for all the industries. For irrigation purposes, we do need for agriculture also. So for economic growth, energy is needed. And finally, yes, this is, I would say, to a large extent, clean energy. I can say, yes, it is not non-renewable, but to a large extent, it is green energy. That means very low carbon emitting energy. All right, not exactly as green as solar or wind energy, but yes, comparable to that for sure. That means the climate change impact can be reduced, the problems of global warming can be ameliorated using nuclear technology. So this does make sense for India also, from a lot of dimensions. See, from energy security perspective, cost perspective, or in terms of longevity of the project. All right, so a yes has so many pointers, but does it make sense? There are so many negatives also. There is a con, or there is a no side to this question also. The first thing is cost. See, nuclear power plants are quite costly in comparison to any other power plant you can talk about. Say, you can talk about a coal-based power plant, you can talk about solar power plant. Yes, solar power plant also have high capital costs, but nuclear power plant have heavy costs of installation, have heavy costs of safety. If there is a nuclear disaster, who will be liable for that? The liability, the insurance itself makes its cost very, very heavy. Apart from that, there is always a threat of radiation, nuclear radiation threat, which is carcinogenic. There is always an issue of radioactive waste. See, we are going to run a nuclear power plant, yes, on say fuel uranium, but the waste that is developed, or the waste that is byproduct that is generated, it can also be radioactive. How am I going to dispose it of? First of all, where am I going to dispose it of? Can I simply put it like the solid waste in a landfill? Do I dump it deep down in the ocean, or do I directly launch it into the sky or space? These are some of the options that makes it again costly. So nuclear waste disposal is another problem. Apart from that, large scale displacement has to be done. See, because it is eventually running on nuclear power, but we do need a lot of water source. So large scale displacement, rehabilitation problems, protests against these nuclear power plants by many NGOs, these are some of the issues. Apart from that, there is always a constant threat of nuclear proliferation whenever you talk about nuclear energy. Of course, India, we talk about peaceful or civilian use of nuclear power here, but there is always a constant threat of proliferation whenever we talk about nuclear energy in general. So these are some of the pointers, and a lot of no or a lot of negative pointers are basically from the perspective of safety, right? We can take care of, say, cost angle, but safety is one of the prime issues when it comes to nuclear power plant, and the world is no stranger to such incidents. We know about Chernobyl, we know about Fukushima incident, we know about many such nuclear disasters. That's why it's always a threat. So I've given you both the pictures, the yes side, the no side. Now let's talk about the question: should India be phasing out the nuclear energy slowly and steadily? When we talk about India, we need to talk about the world also. I told you at the beginning of the discussion, yes, Germany has started phasing out, or Germany is actually ending its nuclear program. The last 3 nuclear power plants there are going to close down. But the world is actually witnessing a renaissance in terms of nuclear energy. You would not believe this. In the entire world, many of the developed countries, they are moving towards, or they are developing nuclear power plants more and more. There is some sort of a nuclear renaissance for sure. In entire Europe, leave Germany, Germany is one exception, but in Europe also, say for example, in Ukraine also, right now, nuclear power is being spoken of, right? We can give so many examples. For instance, China. See, China is one of the leaders now. Now, India has how much? 6,780 megawatt, which makes it 6.78 gigawatt of energy. Do you know how much China has? China has 55 gigawatt of nuclear power. South Korea's new president has reverse policy on nuclear power. He has suggested by 2030, nuclear power is going to comprise of 1/3 of the power of the entire nation. Japan, which has seen a Fukushima incident, there also 10 nuclear power plants are being rejuvenated. The same is the case with UK, which has clearly said, if we want to fight against climate change, if we want to decarbonize the economy, we need to focus on nuclear power plants. So it's not just India. World over, we are looking at some sort of a nuclear renaissance for sure. And same is with India also. As I told you, India has already pledged Panchamrit at COP26, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that 500 gigawatt of our energy is going to come from non-fossil fuel based sources. And non-fossil fuel based sources, it includes nuclear power. Yes, we do have a lot of focus on renewable energy, where by 2022 we said we are going to produce 175 gigawatt of energy. Out of that, 100 was from solar energy. We did not meet these targets, but we have set ambitious target for ourselves in our INDCs, right? There we have suggested 500 gigawatt energy from non-fossil fuel energies. Please remember, there is a difference between renewable energy, non-fossil fuel energy. Try to pick out these terms. And whenever I talk about non-fossil fuel energy, nuclear power is a part and parcel of that. All right. Yes, nuclear energy or nuclear power is not renewable, but it is non-fossil fuel for sure. All right. So what is the take here? India might not be phasing its nuclear power very soon. We are not phasing out. In fact, we are expanding. Now, this is the news that India's nuclear power capacity is expected to reach 22,480 megawatts and approximately 22.5 gigawatt by 2031. This has already been announced by the government. So there we stand. I hope you have got the answer to the question that we started with. That can become a mains question itself, the pros and cons of nuclear power. And many a times such questions have appeared in UPSC civil services mains. So be ready for that. You've got very good fodder, very good content here. And anytime soon, anytime in future, we are not phasing out nuclear power. In fact, slowly and steadily, keeping into consideration the safety concerns, we are going to increase the capacity of our nuclear energy more and more in near future. Let's wait and watch for more news. If there is any news on nuclear energy, nuclear power, we are going to discuss that again on Study IQ for sure. That is it right now in this particular discussion. Thank you for watching this. But before going, if you have liked this video, if you want to follow me, you can always follow me on this particular ID at the rate Rahul Sai 222. If you have any queries, if you have any feedback, any complaint, you can always reach out to me on Instagram. I do respond on Saturdays and Sundays. Thank you for watching this video again. Jai Hind.